Bonjour, bienvenue to another episode of Français for former students of Espagnol. Vous aurez besoin de votre cahier, bien sûr, et un crayon ou un stylo. You will need, of course, your notebook and a pen or a pencil. And today's topic is regular ER verbs. It's a very simple place to start. So, s'il vous plaît, tournez à la prochaine page de votre cahier. So, please turn to the next page in your notebook. Pour moi, c'est la page 12. You may be on a different page. So, for today, we will say les verbes réguliers qui terminent en ER. Regular ER verbs. Et, comme toujours, heading et aussi une date. C'est aujourd'hui le 11 octobre 2016. Now, you will remember from your studies of Spanish that there were also regular verbs in Spanish. So once again, une fois encore, un verbe régulier, un verbe régulier A regular verb follows a pattern. And what we talk about when we mean a regular ER verb means the kind that you'll find in a dictionary. So what does this mean for us? Well, first of all, we're going to define some terms. The first term, and you may hear or see this term in your class, is infinitive. Infinitif. And in French, c'est l'infinitif. And en anglais, infinitive. Infinitive. So, infinitif. An infinitive is the basic, unconjugated form of a verb. Unconjugated form of a verb. And I presume that you already know that a verb is an action word. This is the dictionary form of the verb. This is the dictionary form. You'll find this in a dictionary, you'll find it in your vocabulary lists. Sometimes you'll even find it hanging out in the middle of a sentence. This is the dictionary form of the verb. So, en français, in French, all infinitives, whether they are regular or irregular verbs, all infinitives end in er, ir, ou re. So er, ir, and re verbs, whether they are regular or irregular. All infinitives will do that. You will translate an infinitive, translates as to blank, whatever that blank is. And it's a verb. To run, to jump, to play, to sleep, perchance to dream. All of these are verbs. Okay? So, that brings us to our next definition. And our next definition is verb stem. And a verb stem is what's left over after dropping the er, ir, or re. After dropping the er, ir, ou re de l'infinitif from the infinitive. Okay. The third term that I would like to look at is this one here. This word up here, unconjugated, it appears in our definition of infinitive, and it's a very fancy word. It's a very fancy word for something you do over and over again every day in English. And what that is let's look at the base of this. Conjugate. To conjugate. And if you notice, I just made that into an infinitive, meaning that conjugate is a verb. It's a very fancy term for the following concept. To change a verb to match the subject. That's what it means. Okay? It could be in the past, the present, or the future, but when you conjugate a verb, all you're doing is changing it to match the subject. Now, if you'd like to be able to refer to these definitions later, I suggest you copy them into the meta-language section in the back of your notebook. Bon. So to proceed, you will remember that in Spanish, en español, do you remember having regular AR verbs? Regular AR verbs. Such as hablar. Y hablar se dice to speak. And you'll remember that the first thing you did was one. You drop the AR. And then two. You add the correct ending. And we'll talk more about this process in just a minute. Correct ending. So the first thing we would do is we'd fill in our subject pronouns. I know you've seen these verb charts before. So, por favor, escriben en tus cuadernos. So look in your notebooks or sus cuadernos. Usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, and ustedes. So remember, we're going to drop off the AR, which is going to leave us a verb stem of hable. H-A-B-L. Remember, all of these are conjugated the same way. H-A-B-L, H-A-B-L, y son similares, so H-A-B-L. So we have our stems in, and then we're going to add the correct ending according to who we're talking about. And you'll remember that the endings for a regular AR verb were O, as, a, amos, ais. And remember, the vosotros form had an accent. In this case, the accent is over the A because this is an AR verb. And on. So there were 6 forms. First person, singular and plural. Second person, singular and plural. And third person, singular and plural. So how does this look in French? En français, and we're going to continue over here on to page 13. En français, okay. So let's take a look at the process. Makes it sound all sorts of official, right? So step 1, drop the ER from the infinitive. Then step 2, add the correct ending. Well, how do I know what's the correct ending? We're going to add the correct ending according to the subject. According to the subject. So on va ajouter la terminaison convenable selon le sujet. So we're going to add the correct ending according to the subject. So let's take a look at the French equivalent to the verb hablar. And in this case, it is the verb parler. Parler, ça veut dire to speak or to talk. D'accord? And so what we're going to do is we're going to put in our subject pronouns in French over here. And if you don't remember what they are, we have them over here on this page in our notes. So, ce sont je, and we only need je. We don't need J apostrophe because parler begins with a consonant. Tu, il, elle, on. And remember, on does not have an equivalent in Spanish. And tu does not have an accent like it does in Spanish. Please don't put an accent over tu in French. Then our plural forms are nous, vous, il pluriel, et elle pluriel. On does not have a corresponding plural. Now the first thing we're going to do is, according to our process, we're going to drop the ER, which leaves us parle. So our stem is P-A-R-L. P-A-R-L, 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 P-A-R-L. Bon. Puis, on va ajouter la terminaison convenable selon le sujet. So let's add the correct endings according to the subject. So our endings for a regular ER verb are S, ONS, Z, ENT, puis ENT. Okay? Now, one of the things that you need to know is that even though in French you do add this ENT to il and el pluriel, it's completely silent. So to pronounce these, you have je parle, tu parles, il parle, elle parle, on parle, nous parlons, vous parlez, il parle, elle parle. S'il vous plaît, répétez. Il parle, elle parle. Il parle, elle parle, on parle. And in French, you'll know which one it is according to the context of your sentence. And it must always be written, even though it is not pronounced. Now, to help you remember, I have a little mnemonic, which is a cute little song. S, O, N, S, Z, and T. These are verbs. Yes, I know it's corny, but we're going to do it again. S, O, N, S, Z, and T. These are verbs. Now remember, these are endings that you add. Unlike the verb être, which completely changed form in order to be conjugated, regular ER verbs drop the ER and then add the correct ending according to the subject. Bon, on va l'ajouter à l'indice. So, c'est aujourd'hui le 11, 10, 16. So these are regular ER verbs. And this is page, page 12-13. Merci. Au revoir.